Allow me to ask you something, and I want you to answer to yourself honestly, even if the answer never leaves your mouth. Does the world feel off to you? Different? Inverted even? Not just stressful, not just busy or chaotic, but subtly wrong in a way that's difficult to explain, like something fundamental shifted beneath reality itself, and everyone else kept moving as though nothing happened. If you felt that, I want you to hear this clearly, right from the beginning. You are not crazy, you are not weak, and you are not alone. This feeling has visited humanity many times before. It shows up whenever the outer world becomes louder than the inner one, whenever speed replaces presence, whenever meaning is replaced by noise, whenever people are taught to search endlessly for answers everywhere except within themselves, across cultures, across centuries, mystics, prophets, philosophers, and seekers all described this same sensation, the feeling of being spiritually displaced in a world that no longer reflects the inner life. Ahoy there, nautical truth seekers. My name is Captain Aries Ezra, and you've boarded the illustrious ship Nautical Awakenings. And you are now sailing with the Nautical Awakenings crew. Stick around with us and help us navigate the murky depths of the waters of truth. Today's expedition is a special one, albeit even a personal one. This isn't a lecture, and it isn't a sermon. It's an invitation to slow down for a moment, to breathe, to remember something that may have been buried beneath years of distraction and pressure. Because so many people today are carrying a kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't touch, a tiredness that coffee can't fix, a weariness that lives deeper than the muscles or the mind. So if you're ready for today's expedition, hoist sail and like the video, drop anchor in the comments, cast out the mooring lines and share this video with your people, and ring the ship's bell to become part of the Nautical Awakenings crew and never miss the latest nautical expedition. We're all currently facing a soul-level fatigue, a battle in the ethers between heaven and hell, good and evil, black versus white. People feel disconnected from themselves, disconnected from one another, disconnected from anything that feels sacred or meaningful. Disconnected from reality itself, as if it is no longer tangible. Even our souls have been loosed from the archons, the rulers of this realm, and because no one really names this experience publicly, people assume it must be a personal failing. They tell themselves they should be grateful that others have it worse, that they just need to try harder or think more positively. But what they actually experiencing is a nervous system and a spirit that have been stretched beyond their natural limits, a soul and a body trapped within a physical prison like Matrix. Designed by other dimensional beings who don't have the best interests of humanity in mind, the evidence that we are in Satan E's little season is more apparent now than ever before. The ever-increasing power of technology, the continual bleeding in the education sector, a crumbling economy, and the most unstable society has been. In centuries, we are most certainly living in trying times. We are living in the most overstimulated period in human history. Your ancestors experienced long stretches of silence, darkness at night, rhythms that followed the sun, the seasons, and the body. Time to grieve, time to celebrate, time to integrate change, but we don't in our present day, modern minds. We are asked to process endless information, endless comparison, endless urgency. Your body is flooded with signals that say pay attention, stay alert, stay worried. There is no natural stopping point anymore, so the body adapts. You numb out, you dissociate, you scroll instead of feeling, you distract instead of listening. Over time, reality starts to feel thin, like you're watching life through a pane of glass, like you're present, but not fully here. This is not a moral failure. It's a survival response. Long before modern psychology had language for dissociation or burnout, ancient wisdom traditions were already describing the same inner fracture and offering a different way of seeing it. In the mystical teachings attributed to Jesus, especially those preserved outside of institutional frameworks, there is a recurring and radical message. The kingdom of God is not something you wait for. It is not something you earn. It is not something imposed from the outside. It is, quite simply, something you awaken to. In the Gospel of Thomas, one of the texts discovered at Nag Hammadi, Jesus is recorded as saying that the kingdom is not in the sky and it is not in the sea. Rather, it is spread out upon the earth and people do not see it, not because it isn't there, but rather they have forgotten how to look and where to look. Well, surely it wouldn't be out in the open in plain sight, right? Well, think again, for the truth of reality is best hidden in plain sight. Therefore, it's not really hidden at all when you come to think about it. This wasn't a call to escape the world. It was an invitation to perceive reality differently, to see through the surface of things, to recognize that the divine was not distant but intimate, not external but internal. The Dead Sea Scrolls echo a similar insight, describing humanity as standing between paths, not as enemies fighting each other, but as a tension within the human heart itself. Light and darkness are not people, they are states of awareness. Truth and confusion are not imposed from outside, they are cultivated within, when societies lose shared meaning, when rituals disappear. When the inner life is neglected, something hollow forms beneath the surface of daily life. A vacuum, and vacuums are painful places to live. Ancient cultures understood that suffering needed context. They understood that change required ceremony, that loss needed to be witnessed, that transformation had to be marked or it would fracture. The soul, they had rites of passage, initiations, stories that gave suffering a shape and a purpose. In our modern world that is supposedly advanced and better than we've ever been, we don't. Instead of being guided through change, people internalize the chaos. They blame themselves, they assume something inside them is broken. But here is something worth sitting with. In Hermetic traditions, often symbolized through texts like the Emerald Tablet, there is a principle expressed through metaphor rather than literal claim, as above, so below. As within, so without, not as a scientific statement but as a reflection on consciousness. When the outer world feels fractured, overwhelming, and incoherent, it often mirrors an inner fragmentation, not because you failed, but because attention has been pulled outward for too long. Because the inner world has been neglected, not nurtured. Jesus' teachings, when stripped of fear-based interpretations and power structures, return again and again to the same gentle instruction: be not afraid, not because nothing is wrong, but because fear clouds perception. Fear narrows awareness. Fear causes us to forget who we are, and forgetting is the deepest wound. When you forget your inner light, you begin to live as though you are separate from life itself, as though you are alone in a hostile world rather than a participant in a living mystery. The feeling of being lost does not mean you are broken. Very often, it means you are standing at the edge of remembrance. Awakening rarely feels peaceful at first. It feels disorienting, lonely, unsettling. Like waking up in a room you didn't know you were in and realizing the old rules no longer apply, like sensing that the story you were handed no longer explains your lived experience. That moment is uncomfortable, but oddly, it is also very honest. And although honesty is grounding for most people today, it is often one of the more uncomfortable feelings and experiences imaginable. To be truly honest is to be vulnerable, true to yourself, and that makes people uncomfortable. But that's exactly where you need to be. Sometimes there is no instant solution, no affirmation that erases the weight of the world, anyone who promises that is offering comfort, not wisdom, but there are quiet acts of return, reducing noise. Not as a rejection of the world, but as a reclamation of attention, re-entering the body, breathing, walking, exercise, to feeling gravity and locomotion again. Listening not to endless commentary, but to the subtle signals of your own interior life, creating meaning deliberately instead of consuming it passively, finding people who can sit with questions without rushing to answers. In mystical traditions, salvation was never about escape, it was about remembrance, remembering the breath, remembering the light within, remembering that you are not separate from the life moving through you. If the world has felt strange to you lately, it doesn't mean you are failing, it means you are sensing something real. And sensing reality even when it's uncomfortable is the beginning of true inner wisdom. If any of this resonates with you, I'd like to know when you first noticed the shift. So feel free to drop anchor in the comments below. Not for an algorithm, but because naming an experience gives it form, and shared truth eases a burden we're never meant to carry alone. If you enjoyed this content and want to continue exploring these waters together slowly, honestly, without fear, then stay aboard. Hoist sail and like the video. Throw the cast lines to the pier and share the video with your family and friends, and most importantly, be sure to ring the ship's bell to never miss another notification. This is Nautical Awakenings. We are not broken, we are not lost, we are remembering, and remembering is powerful. When you awaken to who you are truly meant to be, what you were chosen to do, the doors of perception open wide, offering you another glimpse at yourself and what lays beyond, just waiting for you to claim. Until next time, my spiritual shipmates, this is your esoteric Captain Aries Ezra, wishing you fair winds and traveling seas. Peace and love to my brothers and sisters. I have a ship's bounty worth of nautical gold content for you to plunder. Check out this video and playlist for more salty spiritual expeditions. Have a good day and namaste.